Hello everyone, this is Shining Noctowls, and tonight I would like to talk about a special topic that I've been thinking about over the course of many months now. I know in the past in my channel I've done videos of Cernunnos and Morrigan, but I think after watching a video from a Irish pagan YouTuber I've seen bits of pieces of for a while now, with her talking about Irish pagan appropriation as well as other topics. I it brings a very important topic because there are those out there who believe that uh, that you may not be able to embrace a culture that your blood was not born in. But the thing with that is, people, at least I believe people do have multiple lives, and I believe in a past life, as I mentioned before, in the Middle Ages, sometime in that framework, that I was born as an Irishman. But I think it's important to recognize that even if I was not born an Irishman, that that Irish paganism or Celtic paganism um, spreads not is not only contained just in Ireland, but um, it also has origins from the Celts from Spain, France, as well as parts of Northern Europe, um, and the other thing I wanted to mention too is the Irish. They have very mixed, or the Celts in general, actually, but because the Celts are not just Irish, but they are also Scottish and Welsh, as well as other cultures. Don't want to forget our brethren or sisters either. But when I look at the Morrigan and I look at images of her, and when I've done kind of research about where some of the Irish people may have come from, I noticed the Morrigan tends to have some images almost like a very Siberian, Asianic kind of look. And some of her philosophy or some of her ideas that she brings to Cernunnos that helps balance him is she comes from her ancestors come from a people that were very matriarchal. Matriarchal. I know I had a bit of trouble pronouncing that word, but women that were seen in a more prominent role back millennia ago. There were some Siberian tribes that held women in high regard, and even the Native Americans who who are also descendants of the Siberian Asians also had women that were held in high regard. And it's kind of interesting to see that the Morrigan, with her being a sort of wild woman that embraces the raven and the crow, that is also something that you can kind of see in parallel to the Raven Woman and the Raven Crow in Native American culture, where you have these shamanic women, so to speak, that have great power of the nature around them. And that leads me into my next topic, or leads me further into the topic rather, that Cernunnos, just like Morrigan, is also a shamanic entity. Um, if you can see in some of his images, he typically has horns, of either a goat or, but more notably, a stag, sometimes a bull as well. And the horns were, symbol of male fertility and male sexuality. The only issue is that in the past, Cernunnos was demonized to be viewed by the church as the devil or Satan because they did not like the sexual kind of um, aura that he displayed, just as Morrigan did. And again, the church, is not necessarily what it was thousands of years ago. It is changing. There are more people that are being more open-minded, and that is a good thing. And whenever I think of Cernunnos, I almost can see bits and pieces, at least of his loving nature, in other cultures, even in the Bible that I do not follow per se, but there are some bits and pieces that I've read as a human being that do make sense to me. One of them, most notably, is uh, one of the stories when the Pharisees wanted to stone a woman for committing adultery. At least that's what it's described in the Bible, at least by whoever wrote it, or the Romans, or whoever wrote the story. Anyhow, the story goes they wanted to stone a woman, and before they were getting ready to throw rocks at her. Jesus said, "Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone." So the meaning behind that story, even though I don't necessarily believe in the concept of sin as it is described by Christians, what I will say, if I can relate to it as a Wiccan or as a human being, is that many people will use the term demon or someone with no conscience or portray themselves as quote unquote angels that they believe can cause them to kill or murder someone without having any conscience. If you want to relate this to current political events that are happening right now, you can only all you have to look at is what happened in the U.S. Capitol when certain when certain Americans tried to broke into the Capitol and they tried to quote unquote harm or potentially even hurt some of the members in the Capitol. And just because someone has done something, or just because they follow a path you don't necessarily agree with, it doesn't mean that uh, that you shouldn't look at yourself in the mirror and recognize that you may not necessarily be as quote unquote pure or light as you think you may be. And another story as well that I can relate to is, when Jesus went to the underworld for 3 days and he rose again. So the way I can relate to that with Cernunnos is, at least for me personally, with my own experiences, I felt like that I went through a period where I myself was spiritually killed in a sense and went to the underworld. And in that underworld, I saw myself as Cernunnos did, or I saw Cernunnos' form, where I had horns, and I was a bit of a beast, but it was hard for me to kind of understand what was going on at the time because I was so confused. But the Morrigan, or the Raven and Crow, came to me and helped me recognize what my true form as a human being or as a man actually is. And she helps me recognize that there is life after death, and that the death that she does bring at times, or the change that she brings, also can cause new life to emerge if you are willing to take a step deeper. In the sense that Cernunnos wouldn't have been able to have come back to life had Morrigan not intervened. Or maybe a better term is, without winter we cannot have spring, without spring we cannot have winter. What I mean by that is, um, one energy has to exist or coincide with the other to balance oneself. Now, there are creation stories I've read about the god and the goddess, about first mother and first father, as I'd like to call them. And Morrigan, or the goddess, to me, she is the void where we come from. She is the darkness, she is the shadow, she is the stars and the moon in her purest form. She is the beginning. She is the beginning, the dark room where things emerge from. Or the womb, so to speak, if you want to use that term. Cernunnos, on the other hand, is the light that comes out of the shadows, or comes out of the womb, or comes out of winter as spring emerges. He is the dance that allows life to continue. The everlasting life that allows life to continue, and for spring to come again. He is the light that, or the dawn that comes about after a dark night. He is the warm that balances the cold. He is the light that balances shadow. And in reality, Morrigan and Cernunnos are kind of like two sides of the same coin. They are truths that, when joined together, form a more complete answer. It is the feminine and masculine forces of nature that, when left and right are balanced together, forms a harmonious answer. And Cernunnos, learning about him, he is not, just like Morrigan. He is not defined or constrained or limited by any sort of building, by any sort of sculpture, by any sort of human or the ego's way of trying to limit who he actually is, so to say. Cernunnos is the male energy in its purest form when it recognizes who it truly is. The animal balancing the human and the human balancing the animal. He is the wild man. The wild man in his purest form. The dragon or the elk or some would say bull, but just the male, the wild masculine energy in its purest form. And he is the spring that comes after the winter and autumn. And they are both very important together. One cannot necessarily have light without shadow, or sun without moon, or day without night. That is who Morrigan and Cernunnos is to me. They are not just a feminine goddess and a masculine god, or just a raven goddess and a horned god. They are also personifications of nature itself. You can see them in the winter and the spring. You can see Morrigan in fall and winter, and Cernunnos in spring and summer. You can see Cernunnos during the day, or you can see Morrigan in the evening. Though these gods and goddesses also have different forms as well, where the goddess isn't always necessarily dark, nor is the god necessarily always light. There are also, Cernunnos can also be the god of the underworld as well, and can appear in his dark form, bringing souls to rest. And Brigid is the goddess in her light form, where she has the fire and the flame that lights up the hearth, so to speak. Though the god can do that as well, it just shows that, the god and goddess can embrace and meld these different energies, so to speak. That the goddess doesn't always have to be winter and fall, nor does the god always have to be spring and summer. How they can kind of change their energies, so to speak. And it's very, very interesting to think about these things because they are, in a sense, something that allows one to embrace one's humanity in its purest form. It's not dictated by a ruling body, it is not dictated by an emperor or an empress, it is not dictated by the ruling powers of man that be, but it is something that is embraced once you are allowed to embrace the universe itself for what it truly is, as it was always intended to naturally be. Earth, or the intentions of First Mother and First Father, what they truly wanted the Earth to be, and all of its creatures, whether human, plant, fungi, and to also, respect what we eat, just as the animals respect what they eat, and to be thankful for the energy that we receive, as we are also residents of the earth, and that we, animal, plant, fungi, we all share the planet together, and it's very wholesome when you think about it. It is very. It is something that not only the Irish or the Celts can embrace, but I believe it's something that people as a whole, regardless of nationality or nation, can embrace. It is human in its purest form. And I think that is the message that I believe Morrigan and Cernunnos, or First Mother and First Father, really wanted to bring to the people of this land, of the earth. And I think that if people can learn how to understand one another, and live in harmony with one another, and learn how to come to a resolution with one another where there is no more calling one demon or angel, but there is a nation united, or an earth united, where both light and dark can live in harmony and peace, and where shadow and light can complement one another and heal one another, and heal the earth that we live in, and for it to blend together in a way that heals the land, and that eases the souls of many. I think that's an important message to share. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a good rest of the evening. Bye!